Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of CNC Productions. And today we're back with a fresh batch of Monster Hunter Bad Takes. You guys seem to enjoy my last video on this. I got quite a few good comments on it as well. So I figured I'm going to do another one since Rise is finally released. And you'll be seeing some of my gameplay in the background for a few of the monsters that are in there. Gotta say, I'm really freaking enjoying this game. It's really good. There's a couple creative choices in it that I'm kind of confused about, and I'll probably end up doing a full review of the game, like, at a much later date once pretty much everything's done. But before the inevitable expansion, I'll be doing another monster ranking video, and probably be doing a separate video giving my general thoughts on the game once I've had a lot more time to sort of process and enjoy it, because I'm sure my views for now will probably not be the same as they will in the future. But with all that said, let's just go ahead and dive straight into these absolutely garbage Monster Hunter takes, starting out with this dude. Might be a cool idea to push multiplayer or a reason to share quests with other players. Let's say there's Monster Hunter Rise X and Monster Hunter Rise Y. Both editions have 10 unique monsters to them, and the quests can only be posted if you have that specific edition. But both versions can multiplayer with each other, so if you want Monster Gear from X and you have Monster Hunter from Y of X, you gotta find someone who has the quest up. There could be other differences, but Oh boy, so Pokemon can do this. That's fine. There's always been 2 different editions of Pokemon ever since Gen 1. That's perfectly fine. They can do that. I have Pokemon Shield, and my friend has Pokemon Sword. But that doesn't mean that I want Monster Hunter to be the same way, because let's be honest, I like soloing monsters a lot. What I usually end up doing is I will solo the monster to get the gear, like the basic gear. Of course, I solo it the first time I play it, and then I go into multiplayer once I've actually defeated the monster all by myself. This is such a terrible idea, because you're going to have people who only solo hunt. Like, I know a lot of people that just hunt the monsters solo. They don't like multiplayer, and that's fine. This is, again, taking freedom away from the gamer and slapping it on some arbitrary Pokemon comparison. Just why? I like more freedom. People don't seem to understand that freedom in games is a good thing, and this is just a bad idea. You're a world baby. If the game don't play like world, you're thrown off. Not a real hunter, so I don't think you can pass off quality judgment. I like my hunters to have played the older games you said since its inception in World. Gunlance has been around way longer than World Iceborne. Look at this, we have an elitist. So here's the thing, there's a lot, and I mean a lot, of people who started with Monster Hunter World. Like I said in my previous video, I might have started Monster Hunter with Try, but I didn't actually dump a fair amount of time into the game until World. And that was, for all intents and purposes, my main induction into the series. But, like I said before, I went through and I played a lot of the older games just so I can get a real feel of it. But to say that you're not a real hunter just because you started with World is a really stupid thing to say. Because, let's be honest, there's not a whole lot of players who have been around since, like, the PS2 days of Monster Hunter. There's a fair amount of people who never even heard of this franchise until World came out. And this game has been around for a while. So this dude's he's just being an elitist jerk. Like, you know, not a real hunter. According to your standards, because your standards are, oh, I've been around since whatever game. Oh boy, people like this just need to stop, and it's all through most Monster Hunter World, Reddit, and all that stuff. It's all over the place. It is clear that the author does not understand Monhunt, but most of all, I was disappointed by the simplification of the game. Why they removed the hot drink? Let's remove all non-native statuses altogether. Let's make the player kill the monster with one hit. So this argument is what you'd like to call a straw man. And a straw man is whenever the person who's arguing throws up an argument that the other side is making that no one's actually saying. No one is saying let's remove statuses and make monsters one-hit kill. Literally nobody has ever said that. That's a fake argument made up by this person that really no Monster Hunter player would ever think. My stance on the hot drink, cold drink debacle, which got way more drama than it even really deserves, is this. I'm glad it's gone. Does that mean that I want the game to be stupid simple? No, because here's the thing. Like I mentioned before in my previous video, weapon sharpness is a good way to contrast this. With weapon sharpness, it balances some of the difficulty, because you can have a hard-hitting weapon that only has purple sharpness for a tiny little bit, and it adds a little to the tension because you got to find an opening to sharpen. That's the sort of micromanagement thing that I'm fine with staying, because it helps. Hot drink and cold drink, if you forget it, you're screwed, because you're either draining health or draining stamina, and you just gotta do it at random points throughout the game, just whenever you run out. So you can be in the middle of an Elder Dragon fight and have basically no opportunity to pop a hot or a cold drink. You're just screwed. It's frustrating and tedious, and it just reminds you you're playing a video game. It's not immersive, it doesn't help anything, and I'm sorry, but I just don't feel like army crawling through broken glass in order to kill these monsters. You'll have these people that have been playing since older gen that are like upset that the game is getting easier to play. Not necessarily less challenging, just more streamlined, more efficient, less clunky, which is fine. Monster Hunter World, or Monster Hunter 1, I mean, and Monster Hunter Freedom Unite are both great games, but they are extremely clunky, and I'm fine with that clunk getting eliminated to have a more fluid and more enjoyable experience. Once again, if you don't like that the hot drinks and cold drinks are removed, that's fine. Go ahead and play the older gens. This is kind of a long one, but this one was bad. I honestly don't care who gets ticked off. You're all mindless sheep anyway who would rather accept a PS1 quality level game over the beautiful quality of PS5 or PC games. And here comes the graphics crowd once again, which just goes to show how dumb a lot of you really are. Alright, so you can offer that defense exactly the same way back to him. Oh, you'd rather have a beautiful game with great graphics but has awful gameplay. It goes both ways. But I seriously hope Monster Hunter Rise fails. The game has already shipped over 4 million copies and it's not even a week old. I seriously hope the game sales for this flop so bad that maybe Capcom will finally wake up and realize where Monster Hunter belongs. It doesn't belong on some kid's toy. It belongs on a high graphical engine console where it can really shine. We dealt with these people in the last video. They're all just wrong. They're just wrong. And they don't understand how Monster Hunter has worked ever since its inception. You'll have your console game, and then you'll have a handheld, and then you'll have a console. It flip-flops. That's how it's always been. Rise doesn't just look bad, but it plays bad too. I've not played the demo, as I'm not gonna degrade myself to the level of a system that can only push graphics to, at best, look like a game from the early 2000s. Oh my goodness, I don't even need to comment on that. The little fairy thing, or whatever the stupid bug thing is called, was a stupid idea. Whoever thought of that needs to be fired, along with the idiot who thought of wyvern riding. Seriously, this game just all around looks stupid. I honestly wish they'd just scrap the game now and put more focus on the next mainline title and just keep updating Iceborne. Okay, so I'm just gonna unpack what this guy is saying. So the wire bug is, I mean, it's pretty generally well accepted that it's one of the best things about Rise, and I'm just gonna say it. It is so much fun to use the wire bug for a traversal tool. Is it a little silly looking? I mean, maybe. That's not really an objective. Sure, if you think it looks silly, it looks silly. But I think it has really added a lot of interesting depth to combat and traversal. It's a great tool. It's sort of like having the grappling hook in Arkham City, where you just get to zip around the place. It's awesome. Once again, I have no problem with more freedom being given to move around the world and to kill monsters. That's the point of the game. If I have more choices to do that, I will have more fun playing the game because I get to have different options. Player freedom is a good thing. And wyvern riding, I've seen mixed things about wyvern riding. Personally, I think it's a fine addition. It's basically turf wars. Now, personally, I know there's turf wars in Rise. I kind of wish that there were no turf wars in Rise, and instead of that, you just had the wyvern riding. Because in World, you had turf wars, which are basically the exact same thing. The monsters fight, they take a good chunk of health out of each other, and that's it. Wyvern riding is basically the same thing, except you're in control of the monster. Let's be honest, that sounds a whole lot cooler. I have no problem with wyvern riding, and honestly, I don't think it'll be in the next game. I'm sure there's going to be like the Clutch Claw, where it's just in the one game and doesn't get transferred into the other game. And it's literally fine. It's basically a turf war that you're in control of, which is good. And scrapping this game, do these people honestly think that Capcom is going to do this? The game is done. They're not scrapping it. and keep updating Iceborne. And I said in my previous video, Iceborne is done. We are no longer associating with that game. It was a good game, had a lot of fun, now it's done. While we're at it, please cancel Monster Hunter Stories 2. Oh boy, this game looks stupid. Why is that game even getting a sequel? The first one was bad enough. Why is this stupid Pokemon ripoff even getting a sequel? Woo! Okay, so I don't know if any of you guys have ever played Monster Hunter Stories, but it was easily my favorite 3DS title of all time. Easily. Way more than any of the Pokemon games. It's one of my favorite games of all time. The game is insanely fun, adds so much depth and lore to the Monster Hunter universe, even if it's not canon, I don't really care. But it's such a good game, and if you haven't played it, download it on your smartphone. It's literally an app that you can get. I strongly recommend that you play the game. It's excellent. And this guy, cancel it? Why? The game was great! You know, hot take, I'm actually slightly, or at least before Rise's release, I was more excited for Stories 2 than I was for Rise. Doesn't mean that I wasn't excited for Rise, but Monster Hunter Stories was just such a special and unique experience, and this guy wants to cancel it. That's fun. Hey, more power to you, but that game is going to be incredible. I am so excited for it. Cancel a ripoff. Okay, fun killer. Either way, say what you want, but I have no interest in Rise. Then don't play it. It's that simple. Then don't play it. Anyone who would rather have a downgraded game over moving forward like we should be doing apparently must have COVID-19 because you have no taste at all. Ha ha ha, and everyone laughed. If you're just going to accept this garbage for what it is, I'll continue to play actual good Monster Hunter games until we get another PS5 or PC title. You know, curiously, I'm not sure if this person will change his tune once next year rolls around and we get Monster Hunter Rise for PC. Will this guy change his tune? I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see when that actually happens, because you get all these babies whining and crying that it's a Switch exclusive and it's for a kid's toy and blah blah blah. Will they have the same hatred for it once it actually gets released for PC? I'm curious. I'm very curious. Because that'll just show you exactly the kind of crybabies that these people are if they just do this stuff and then turn around and buy the game anyway. I'm gonna bet that they will. I'm sure that these people won't be posting this kinds of stuff once it's actually released for PC. We'll have to see. But I am very curious if they will.
It was an amazing time. Then you decided to launch the game next on Switch exclusively. And now we hate you all.
World has set a new standard for the series, so anything that came before it isn't worth it. So, no. The game that set the standard is the first game, and it got polished and polished and polished from there. Now, I would say that World is arguably, not necessarily including Rise, because Rise is sort of doing its own thing, but I would say World is probably the most polished Monster Hunter experience, in my opinion. Because setting the standard for the series, the game was set with standard. The standard was set with the first game. That's how it works. And each game has sort of innovated and done its own thing and experimented with different things and stayed with its own sort of little niche. And it's really cool because each game has its own sort of gimmick to it, for lack of a better word. In Tri, you have underwater combat. In Generations, you have the hunter arts and hunter styles. In World, you have the Clutch Claw, and in Rise, you have the wire bugs. And each one is sort of doing its own thing, and it's a unique little experience. It doesn't usually get passed down to future games, but it's really cool. But setting the standard, no, it's the most polished game, arguably, but it didn't set the standard. And to say that it's not worth it is just, it's really reductive and really sad, because you're robbing yourself of really good experiences with the other older games. I have no idea what this is posted on r/Splatoon, but we're just going to keep going. And now that Monster Hunter has gotten more popular, the latest game has had all its grit stripped out of it and dumbed down. Happy face. Such is how it goes being a fan of anything. Alas. Alright, let's get this thespian off the stage. First of all, dumbed down. This is probably the same person who complains about hot and cold drinks being removed. Being dumbed down and being streamlined are two very different things. And as I was saying earlier, I'm going to say the first two generations, and even third and fourth to a degree, but the first two generations definitely are clunky games. Doesn't mean that they're bad, because I don't consider them bad games, but they're definitely clunky. They're hard to control. The monsters are kind of spazzy. Hitboxes are awful. We all of us know old Gen Monster Hunter. It's clunky. Not bad, but yes, it's clunky. And having all of its grit stripped out of it and dumbed down, I have more fun fighting Rajang and Rise than I do fighting it in Freedom Unite. And I'm pretty sure that probably goes for anyone. You can have fun with both games, but I'm fine with the clunk being taken out of it. The fact remains that the game is becoming very casual, a game for children in which the player does not have to think, but just press one button. This is no longer a Monster Hunter. So, I'm not sure if this guy has the same level of audacity that the other guy said. Oh, I didn't play the demo, but the game sucks. I can speak from experience. Although I find Rise's village quests pretty easy, I would say almost too easy to a degree. If you get yourself in some of the harder quests, especially with some of the endgame monsters, it is difficult. You have to think. I also think that it's a little bit different whenever you're coming from World straight into Rise, because you already have your World brain programmed to do exactly what you do. You have your own little hunting style and you kind of go through with it. I would tentatively say that I do find it easier than certain parts of World, but also, let's be honest, we came right off of Elatrion and Fatalis and Sappy Jiva from World. We were dealing with, like, dragons that could destroy entire continents, going straight into monsters like Great Azuchi and Kuluyaku. So, yes, it's going to be easier just because we're used to dealing with like, dragons with catastrophic power. So, although I do agree it is easier, I don't think that it's like one button press easy, and I don't think it's casual either. I tried to get my friend into it, and it didn't really work. So, you can still have fun playing Animal Crossing, that's fine. I'm not mad. I got Icebrawn a few days ago on sale. It's like vanilla WoW raids where you could wipe for weeks and months without any loot. No fun at all. The only good stuff is the player's headquarters and decorations. Get the base game only, or Nioh 2, or Valheim maybe. I mean, Valheim's good, but it's not really a comparison. So, you know, this is actually one thing. It's not like you do have to do weeks and months. And actually, Rise, well, this isn't technically Rise, this is Iceborne, never mind. But yeah, in Iceborne, it is even worse, because in Iceborne, you have the Melter, where you literally can trade in your resources for other resources that you need. So, I don't know if he just skipped through the tutorial and never looked at all that stuff, but technically, like I said before, that's also the point of the game. Kill monsters, upgrade your gear. Very glad. Playing an action game at low frame rate is unacceptable. I played the demo on the Switch and I couldn't do it. I love Monster Hunter, but the frame rate and resolution were killing my eyes. I'm glad I'll be able to play this on PC. Too bad it's a Switch port, so it will look worse than Monster Hunter World, and it uses an outdated game engine already. Lamau, Switch players just don't want to feel sad because they don't have a PC. Alright, so let's go through these one by one. Playing an action game with low frame rate is unacceptable. It's 30 FPS. I will admit, I do prefer having higher FPS, but am I going to be a crybaby just because it's 30 FPS? No, I'm going to play it and I'm going to have fun. Second one, killing your eyes, unless you have a PS5. And for context, one of my friends just bought a PS5 and he downloaded Monster Hunter World on it. And I gotta say, it would take a little bit of getting used to switch from 144 FPS to 30 FPS. I'll admit, that would take a little bit of an adjustment. But I don't think it's like impossible or unplayable. It's really not that bad. Too bad it's a Switch port, it'll look worse than Monster Hunter World. Again, it's a Switch, so the graphics are not going to be as good as a PS5. I don't know why these people can't seem to get it through their heads, but that's fine. And also, it uses an outdated game engine. Actually, the RE engine is newer than the engine that they built Monster Hunter World off of. So, yeah. Switch players just don't want to feel sad because they don't have a PC. That feels like projection. I feel like you're sad because you don't have a Switch and you just have a PC. That's kind of projecting there, buddy. But it's fine. Nice try, Nintendo. PC is still master race. No one really plays Monster Hunter Nintendo consoles outside Japan. Hello? Hi, I am here. So it makes a lot of sense, since they cannot release it on other consoles. So like I said before, Monster Hunter Rise sold 4 million copies within the first couple days of it being released, so it's already done very, very, very well. Do I think it'll do it quite as well as World? No, but I do think it's going to do, well, it already has done extremely well. And I'm sorry, but if you're unironically saying PC Master Race, just please, please get off Reddit. Just please get off Reddit. You need off. Really surprised that a PC port is confirmed. Hopefully we'll get cross saves as well, because if we do, I am definitely getting it for both platforms. Wow, someone who actually has a common sense in their brain, because I am the same way. If there is cross save for Rise, I will probably get it for both, but if there's not, I'll just stick to my Switch, it's fine. I am not surprised. Monster Hunter World was the most successful Monster Hunter ever and became the most sold Capcom title just because they stopped catering to an inferior hardware and niche of overgrown virgins who can't accept changes in the formula. They tasted the money it brings. They wouldn't give that up for crappy Switch with huge polygons and poorly rendered textures. Once again, this dude seems like he's projecting pretty dang hard. It seems like you can't accept that they are still doing it on portable consoles, and you want it in your big giant PS5. So I can say the same thing right back at you. Because look, overgrown virgins who can't accept changes in the formula, you're doing the exact same thing. You're being a hypocrite that's projecting because you're mad that you can't play on your PS5. It's fine, play it on your PC when it comes out, like I'm sure you will. Not recommended. You will enjoy the unique and diverse biomes, the character design, cool dragons. You will hate how ridiculously long and drawn out the fights are, no health bar, having to chase the dragon all around the map. A lot of missions are solo only, getting stunned and roar staggered every 15 seconds when you don't have earplugs, having to sharpen your blade mid-battle. I will go through these one by one. First of all, this dude received it for free and only played for 30 hours and only had 8 hours at review time. Huh. Yeah, this dude hasn't really put much time in. 8 hours? Is that even enough time to get to the Elder Dragons? I don't know if it even is. Okay, so obviously the character design, dragons, and biomes are obviously good, of course. Ridiculously long and drawn out. Not really. I actually don't find Monster Hunter fights to be long and drawn out. Some people might. I don't. I mean, 50 minutes is usually excessive, because you're usually able to take them out at under 20 minutes, if you're good. I mean, no, I can't speak for how good this guy is, but it's not that long. Come on. No health bar. Once again, I discussed this in my last video. No health bar is fine. The monster tells you when it's getting low because it staggers, it gets exhausted, it limps away. Having to chase the dragon all around the map. This dude hasn't experienced the pain of having to... You're facing down a Gormagala, and you gotta throw that stupid pink paintball at it, and it just decides to fly away. You gotta go all the way around the map to get to its position because of the map loading times and map zones. And then as soon as you get to that map zone, the Gore just decides, hey, I'm gonna fly away, and then the paintball wears off and you don't know where it went, and you're chasing it all around the stupid loading maps. That was painful. That's an example of clunk that I'm glad is gone, because it's just bad. Honestly, I'm glad that Rise sort of does away with tracking entirely, because it's fine being gone. A lot of the missions are solo only. Why is that bad? Why is this a bad thing? If you don't like solo, then don't do it. Because there's not a single mission in this game that you can't do with other people, with SOS flares. Maybe aside from like the very beginning, but even if you encounter new monsters on expeditions, you can leave the expedition, take up the quest from the handler, and then do it with an SOS flare and do it multiplayer. Ta-da! Getting stunned and roar staggered every 15 seconds unless you don't have earplugs. I'll admit that is kind of annoying, but it's not that big a deal, and it only lasts for less than 5 seconds. It's not that bad. Having to sharpen your blade mid-battle, I've said my piece. It's not a bad mechanic. It's fine. Stop complaining about it, because it's really okay. Not recommended. If you get this game on sale or free from a friend, it's really fun at times, the monster feel good, and base game is amazing. However, Iceborne will ruin any fun you had with the base game and turn it into fun time, into a swearing RNG grind fest for Story of Iceborne. All your high rank armor you farmed, useless on the first monster. Is your HP plus 150 from the skill to boost it? No, then get one shot by everything. Are you playing solo? Then hope you don't like finishing the game, as one of the main story fights is at least a 3-person min fight to beat without mods. Oof. if you do plan to play solo, just get a mod for OP weapons and fight a latch around with that. Oh my goodness. So, although I will admit, it is kind of frustrating farming your high rank stuff and then going straight into master rank or G rank depending on your game. That's just how it is. It's been like that since the start. Even in Generations Ultimate and Tri, or 3U I mean, and 4U, they're all like that. You go low rank, then high rank, then G rank. And your gear is usually useless as soon as you enter the new rank. It's just how it is. It's not, Iceborne is not that, it did not start that trend. It's been like that since the start. This guy talking about modding quest. I'm sure he's referring to that Fatalis clear quest, which, hot take, if you're playing solo, that's fine. Use mods, I don't really care. But as soon as you bring multiplayer into this, that's when it becomes a problem. And this guy is clearly saying that if you use a mod, then you can go into multiplayer and use it with all your OP weapons. That's not okay, because that's not fair for the people who had to sit there and grind and use all their time and effort into getting the gear. And it's just lazy. Like, I get wanting to spawn in weapons and armor just to test it out, but just, come on. At least do it once you're on your own and you've done everything. That way you can clearly say, I beat the game fair and square, and isn't that more satisfying? These people are just, they're taking the whole point of the game and just ruining it. Not a fan of Rise. Terrible music. Oh boy, let me stop you right there. I find the music in Rise to be really, really good. There are a couple tracks that I didn't like, including Nargacuga's and Rajang's theme. I didn't like either of those, but the rest of the music I find really good. I actually find several of the tracks to be an improvement over Iceborne's track, like Tigrex and Zynogar's theme, and Mizutsune's theme. They're all really, really great. Awful dialogue. Alright, come on. Monster Hunter is not... It's not a story game. It has story, kind of, but it's really not a story game. A bland world that reminds me of a remastered N64 game, come on, and a cluttered HUD. It has reskinned monsters with the same attacks and the hitboxes are atrociously wide. It's worse than World in every way. I do not recommend it. Remastered N64 game, once again, come on, the graphics crowd, it's not that bad. Cluttered HUD, I disagree with. I think there's really not a lot of clutter. You have your map, you have your health bar and your stamina, you have your bottom bar, your item bar, and that's it. It might be the map that he's talking about, but it was like that in the older games, and nobody complained about that. The hitboxes Magnamalo's hitboxes were a problem in the demo, but they really aren't a problem anymore. They actually fixed it, and I'm surprised that they did. I was betting that they wouldn't fix it, but they did, so I'm kind of glad about that. Worse than World in every way. That's, again, entirely subjective. You can't say that, like, it's not something that you can, unless you can quantify your statement, that's completely up to you what that means. Worse than World in every way. Because some people might hate World and love Rise. So unless you're going to quantify what you mean, that assessment doesn't mean anything, because you have no references to support your statements. It's just your opinion, which then makes it about as true as saying that the sky is purple, in your opinion. I will Monster Hunter World, Pro Hunter for Hire PC. 1 hour of what you want done, plus Discord chat, along with tips and tricks, or any other wisdom. £7 and 54 pence, up to 60 minutes. Screen recording. 1 day delivery, baby. You want to compare packages or contact seller? Well, just hire me, and I will